Hello, guys. This is FratHouse23, and welcome to the 5th episode of the Unofficial Noncredible Podcast. So, the opening to this got messed up due to some weird configurations, and I am unable to download the VOD. So, here I am. Disclaimer, this video, or this VOD, or podcast, really, is more of a listening experience just due to the lack of, any more comedy I can add to it not really being there. Or I've run into the situation where either an image related to it is not high quality enough, or I can't find the source of something. So, with all that out of the way, and without any further ado, let's get on with it, shall we? We're back.
Hey.
We're alive. The visuals are now indeed working.
Hey!
Someone go contact Jackal and tell him.
Yay, it's working.
They're not even online, but
Oh.
Yeah, their Wi-Fi crashed.
Oh. So they'll be
We'll-
back. Got it.
we'll drag him back in if he comes back online.
I think he's got
Yeah.
access already.
Is he still showing offline?
He is. Hey, here we go. Take two. Here we go.
We don't need to do that. Yeah, Jackal's already got access to the chat. So, I didn't get to mine. This is gonna be. I'm gonna have to download 2 VODs now instead of 1. Hi.
It'll be all good.
Yeah, typically, hi. I'm the one who does the intro, so I don't get to do this part, but, hi, I'm Frat House. If not Russian asset, why Russian asset shaped?
Of course. So here
oh,
we are. One more time. Do we need to do another intro, or do we need
Nah,
to?
we're fine.
No,
just-
He'll
I'll-
just splice them together.
I'll splice them together. I'll give myself a.
Thank you,
5-minute
thank you,
headache.
Poopy.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Poopy.
You're welcome, Bear.
Anyway, Frat House. I mean to ask you, how goes the editing streams for episodes on YouTube go?
If you notice, it went from there's a schedule to a it will get done when it gets done.
You know
Oh,
what?
that's lovely.
I can
Anyway,
make one
we
request.
need to look for some
Can you
help there
please
because
put-
we need to get to a steady schedule. That's just something we need to do.
Hey,
Yeah,
we
no.
should talk
I
about
just,
probably that kind of stuff
Later.
Yeah.
Of.
I do actually want
Fair
to
enough,
make this
yeah.
thing here.
Okay,
Let's move
top
on to our
Thursday nights. What the fuck was that signal chat?
I was gonna
Um,
wait to get to it, but you know what? I guess we'll go straight into the meat.
No,
and
let's save the
potatoes.
best for last.
Yeah.
No, let's go right
Yeah.
into it.
Save the best one out of
Okay,
here.
we'll save the best for last.
Um,
Let's see.
So do we want to do that topic on farming?
Oh, you made me smile. Well, okay. Where do you
He
guys
said the
want to start?
word. Well, first of all,
you're the one who knows about it.
yes.
You're the
Oh,
resident
yeah, of
farmer
course.
here.
actually, big question for you, actually, Pittsburgh. How have the tariffs affected affected your work, your livelihood? How have they affected it?
Me?
Yeah.
It is less of the tariffs that are
Oh.
the issue.
Okay.
For grain farmers and for beef farmers and all those guys, it is affecting them greatly. If you go online, go to like Millennial Farmer or any of the other ones in America, their most recent videos are talking about how they're being affected by it because those
How
are
are
grain
you?
farmers.
What are you currently facing now as a dairy farmer?
It is government closures like the USDA, laying off workers, and federal funding being stopped. That's been the biggest issue in the agricultural community. When it comes down to
That's not good.
the USDA being, the funding being drained out, it's not just grain farmers at that point. It's the people who don't just get international agriculture because obviously the tariffs have increased prices and decreased prices in the ag field. The thing with farming is that, unlike all other markets, the more something is expensive, the more or the less money it is to actually get. That sounds counterintuitive. However, you have to think about it like this. Most agricultural scarcity does not happen in the United States, at least, or North America in general. Farming in North America, and to put it in words of one of my favorite podcasts, anytime the American farmer has been asked to produce grain, like overabundance of grain or whatever it may be, the American farmer has met that mark by tenfold. Anytime there was any doubt, we'll take the examples of World War II or just after the Dust Bowl. You know what happened after Dust Bowl? The American farmer bounced back. And the prices of grain and all that, though they have went down over time, essentially have essentially caused it to be different like any other market. But back to the topic at hand, where I was talking about how farming seems counterintuitive when it comes down to prices. Most farming is because of overabundance. You won't see that in the store. You'll see they have a pile of food, but it's $10. Right? We'll take that for example. That is directly that is the direct issue that faces the consumer. The producer sees on a different side, because there's an overabundance of this crop on our side of the things. It's going to be, the prices are down. Granted, I haven't checked corn prices in a long time, but I saw that last year, soybean prices went up to like near $1 a bushel. I think, if I remember correctly, they went back down to about half that. Granted, I'm not a grain farmer. Do not have any experience in grain. Grain is, as I say, weaklings. Weaklings, pathetic.
Who work only
He
half
dies.
a year.
He dies, you know?
Yeah.
But that is that, and that's explaining it from our side. But at the end of the day, the biggest issue that the American farmer is facing is from both mainly from the government side of things and the environmental side of things. And this is going to be why your eggs are so expensive. Recently, there's been a massive outbreak of bird flu. Now, here's something that you may not know about chicken and hog buildings. Chicken and hog buildings, and I have been to chicken barns before. We actually used to raise chickens on our farm. Was go up, and you would have to enter, you would have to completely wear sanitized gear. I am talking medical grade sanitization. Like, this is a surgical room type level. And you would have to go in, you would have to wear overalls and jump a different outfit. And then you would also have to wear, you'd either change your shoes into muck gaiters, or you would switch them into overpants muck gaiters. And you were also supposed to sanitize yourself by spraying you down with a chemical. Then you would be able to go into the building.
Yeah, but don't those chemicals turn the...
With, by the way, wearing both plastic medical gloves and hair nets and things. The reason that is because uh, those animals are highly susceptible to things that are illnesses and diseases that can be carried by humans. We're not so much susceptible, but they are. And another big thing was bird flu does not just affect birds.
I thought everybody knew the bird flu.
Yes,
Not everybody
Terrible
does.
joke, and you know that.
However, last year, there was a very panicky and very real issue that could have affected the United States. And that would have been our dairy supply being affected by bird flu. Because bird flu last year officially made it over into the dairy industry, with older cows being affected. Well, some that are over 10 years old. Luckily, that was met with very easy cleaning, and there was only 2 reported instances of, at least the last time I checked, of people being hospitalized for bird flu.
I have a question, because you are a dairy farmer. You do deal with cows. Would, if they get bird flu, right? Since it, like, I know in birds, if bird flu is detected, you got to kill it, because it'll just kill the bird anyway. But or it won't kill the bird, but it would be detected. Since a cow is a lot bigger and has a better immune system, is it the same way where do you have to cull the cow if it gets bird flu, or is it just separate from the others, wait till it gets better?
So the big issue is with that is, yeah, you can dose it with antibiotics. You can put antibiotics in the bovine, and it'll fend that off. But the biggest issue is it does not impact beef cows. It impacts dairy cows. Things like Holstein, Brown Swiss, and of course Jersey, which is where most of your butter comes from, is actually Jersey, but that's a completely different subject. The biggest issue with that is it's better to cull a cow, both ethically and from a source of this cow is no longer making any money. You can't really use, if I remember correctly, you can't use the meat from it because it might switch over to humans, which is a big no-no.
That makes sense.
And another really big issue is, well, the age of the cow it typically affects cows older than 10 years old.
So it's not.
It affects.
So it's not going to be like a young cow that, even though it's sick now, you've still got 5 years left of milking it, 6 months of doing the antibiotic treatment and waiting for the antibiotics out of their system so you can start milking again. Is it that equation where it's like if it was a younger, it would you'd still call it?
So if it was a calf, then we would take precautions. But heifers, older heifers, breeding age heifers and above are probably the least susceptible. And if you don't know what a heifer is, by the way, heifers are bovine that has not calved yet, but is a female. So it's like saying girl instead of mom, essentially.
No. So, how long does it take for a cow to become mature enough to be mateable?
So it depends on the breed, obviously, and depends on if it's what type of bovine it is. But generally it will take about a year, if not more. If you can have bovine such as what's the word? You can have bovine that are younger. You can have bovine that are older. If I remember correctly, from ages, I think it's 20 something months old. You can do that. You can begin the process, but typically it can be upwards of a year.
Okay.
Well, longer than that.
So so if you get to that year point, so the question I brought up is not like a cow that's 5 years old. I'm talking about like a cow that's 1 to 2 years old. Would you still cull that if it hasn't given birth yet? Because it sounds like if it's mated, it's just cull it.
No. It's neither of that. So the reason why I say 10 years or older is it is also proven to deduct milk. The milk is so one of the very first signs is higher butter content, higher butterfat content in the milk, higher than average. For example, say a cow has about 60, say has like 20% buttermilk content in the milk, which is high. But then one day it goes from 20 to 66. And you're like, ooh.
You're fighting off an infection.
It is more of an infection than you would think. And then the biggest issue is, obviously, as I said, it affects older bovine. Older bovine, the older it gets to a certain point, the better it milks. So 10 years is, if I remember correctly, about that perfect moment. That perfect position. Now, once bovine have effectively had this illness, and they are now, what's the word? And now they are starting to
Display symptoms?
Once they have started to display symptoms, the cow will never go from that percentage again. So it will have a diminishment of upwards of 60%.
Oh wow!
So it is just better to call it.
Okay, so effectively, once it gets sick, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't. And the reason why you don't see that with beef bovine, in particular, is because beef bovine are culled at a much younger age.
Yeah.
Which is just dark, you would think, but understand that beef bovine, their life expectancy is not as high as dairy cows.
Yeah, if I remember from the school field trip we did, because welcome to the South, it's either a cotton farm or dairy / cattle farm, or you can go to the state fair and watch the pigs races.
Or if you're far enough north, you get to go to DC.
Or if you're
North.
I forget where you
go to
are.
dairy farms.
What?
So, I forget where you are in the South, but
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Here in South Carolina, you're lucky if you get a field trip at all. The field trips I remember, going to the state museum in the state capital, Columbia, and going to the aquarium.
Oh yeah, after middle school, I only went on, yeah, after middle school, I only went on one field trip, and that was to when I was my 1 year in choir, and that was to a choir competition.
No, correction. We went to the zoo one time, and we went to a park one time. That was it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Back to my statement. If you're ever in the South and you get to go to a state fair, watch the pig races. They're really entertaining, especially when one figures out, hey, if I run fast enough, I can either jump or knock over the barrier between the next one. And I can fight the other pig.
then it turns into a fight, and then you start playing bets who's winning that fight.
Well, no, you place bets on who's winning the race, and then you place bets who's winning the fight.
Exactly, or one and the same. Anyways, on Pittsburgh's note, it makes a lot of sense. My mind immediately went to if it got sick. Well, in that case, that's a problem. Because granted, my logic was it could spread it. It could cause the issue of my brain went to bird flu could have been like transmitted, and yeah.
Okay, my question is this in regards to bird flu. What is the effect on humans who consume the product of bird flu?
I honestly, I do not know.
Google will know. Give me a second.
Google will know, though.
I'm just about to say Google is free.
That's something that you have to also remember is that, fun fact, bird flu in humans are older than technically, or is older than that in bovine. So, take that into account.
Mm-hmm. Which, I will be honest with you, I don't know as much about the agriculture industry as I used to because I'm out of practice, and also it's not my forte. I've never really had much of an interest in it. So yeah, I'm genuinely curious.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Bird flu is no joke.
Yeah, I would imagine
it's not.
I literally just looked it up,
fly.
and it's like mild symptoms, and then symptoms will pop. Yeah, but also signs of symptoms of moderate severe disease, high fever, symptoms, seizure, altered consciousness, all complications, pneumonia, respiratory failure, acute respiratory distress syndrome, acute kidney injury.
It's bad. It's bad. Just leave it bad.
Yeah.
I should also quickly mention before we continue. By the way, if anybody is wondering, respiratory arrest is something you 1000% do not want.
Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean letting your lungs die is bad? I hear it's good if you let it happen
your
twice.
Lungs dying, it's your lungs stopping. It goes no more.
Frat House, to be fair, this person knows what he's talking about. Yeah. He is, in fact, a volunteer firefighter.
Yeah.
Anyway, do we want to keep moving, or are we going to stick on
All right. I was going to go with the Ukraine topics that I had.
All right, let's
our top story, or one of our top stories. Looking at the numbers, roughly 80% of the Ukrainians are in favor of a ceasefire. Seems to be that they just don't want drones to be crashing into their windows that are apartment buildings at night. That just seems to be it. On the other hand, there was another poll done, and here's a more correct number. 82% of Ukrainians stated they would continue resistance against Russian aggression, even if U.S. support is completely stopped. While 79% also find Russia's demands for a ceasefire categorically unacceptable. Take from that what you will. It is not a good situation.
So
add to that, there's apparently rumors, or confirmed at this point, that the Russians are now redeploying some troops to the Lithuanian border. And there's also the Baltics and Poland leaving the landmine treaty. So they're now going to be using anti-personnel mines again. And they're planning to mine the borders with Russia.
Your news.
We're going back to the Russian troops in Lithuania. I say unconfirmed rumors because I can't find any direct articles online. All I hear is rumors from group chats talking about the Russians apparently sent roughly 100,000 or so troops. So I don't know what to do with that. In any case, take it with a grain of salt.
So here's the thing with it, right? You've got to comment down to this.
something that I'm hearing.
Okay. So, with that whole situation, it looks like... So, these alarms have been going off since the invasion began. And...
Yes, but keep in mind that the border with NATO that Russia for the last couple of years has been more or less a fucking ghost town. The border with Finland, the border with the Baltics, they've been withdrawing stuff to send to Ukraine. So for something to be redeployed to those same borders now is a red flag.
I mean, it doesn't really mean...
Oh, yeah, it is.
I mean, it could mean... we could look at it as they might be planning something there, or I think Occam's razor might be the best way to go with this, and that we're looking at a slowdown of activities in Ukraine, so they're redeploying to places that have been understaffed for recently that they prefer to have fully staffed with troops.
Yeah, but on the other hand, it's also rather concerning that the Baltics and Poland are worried enough about this to start actively making plans to deploy landmines to the Russian border.
The thing that so I see that I'm going to go with the fact that when it comes that the previous plan that they had for dealing with Russia in the case of a war between Russia and NATO, their primary plan no longer is a real possibility or is not concrete because of how the U.S. is acting.
Mm-hmm.
So they need their guarantees of their safety, because of the countries that say never again, Poland takes it the most seriously that they will never be occupied again.
Actually, speaking of that, there's
They've
a
been
quote
buying
from
everything that
Poland.
hasn't been nailed to the floor at this point.
Oh, 100%.
Not
and
anymore.
Poland treats its borders not anymore now, but Poland will. There's a quote. There's a Polish quote. I think, and it goes something like this: the borders of Poland will not be infringed, and it will remain the same, even if the borders of Poland are drawn in blood on the last map that humanity will ever draw.
So
it's something to that effect.
I think why Russia's just redeploying is because geopolitically, they've already pushed it that NATO is a threat to them, right? So, of course, if they're going to politically go out there and say NATO is a threat, just like the Cold War, they're going to have armies on the border, and the West should respond by doing the same.
Yes.
But ultimately, I would feel kind of more safer if the West kind of sat maybe 20 kilometers away from the Russian border so that, they can't claim that some people in Polish uniforms bombed a radio tower.
Nah.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of putting that out there, NATO. Do that so that a fascist dictator can't claim Poland.
I think that's the reason why the Polish as well as the Baltics want to put a bunch of landmines out there.
They blow themselves up as they're trying to reach the radar station they're trying to blow up.
Like the thing
it hurt
is,
itself in confusion.
Really, until we see mass deployments to those borders, like what we were kind of seeing before Ukraine, I wouldn't really be worried about it.
Prince William from the British royal family went to one of the Baltic countries as part of a British deployment, and I say British, it was a multinational deployment, but still, he did so as a show of support for NATO. So that's something.
He's still in the military. I thought he'd be in fucking London trying to learn how to become quick before his dad passes away from cancer.
Well, to be fair, the monarch the royal monarchs of the royal family do have a military rank, or they are supposed to have it.
I saw the photo of him in a Challenger. He looks goofy. Wearing the fucking gear. He looks fucking goofy.
Yeah, fair.
He looks out of he looks out of place a little bit.
Other news: Ukraine is about to receive their 2 AWACS from Sweden, which will give the F-16s they have the ability to target Russian aircraft at will.
That's if the Russian aircraft are not scared to come out of their hangars.
Yeah, but I'm saying up until now,
come on out. There's no.
The F-16s have been used as air defense because they didn't have the necessary radar range to target the Russian aircraft. So now with this additional range, they can use more offensive tactics, take initiative.
So what you're saying is Ukraine's gonna extend that aerial denial from Ukraine to Russia.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Although they may try to be conservative with them, given that they're only getting 2. So,
I mean, 2. When it comes to AWACS, 2 is a lot because
you
gotta think that
seems like a lot, but there's still 2 it does stand a risk of being shot down, so they're going to want to keep them back from the front by quite a bit.
So here's the thing: when it comes to AWACS, they, as long as Ukraine is using them how they're supposed to be used, an AWACS is going to be the hardest plane to shoot down. Because, remember, it's flying really fucking high. It will see everything.
Okay.
Yes, but understand these AWACS aircraft don't work the same as what we see here in the U.S. They don't have. Their radar is not.
They're the older model.
It's not disc-shaped like what you're probably imagining. It's bar-shaped.
So
meaning, whereas the radar usually goes in a wave around the radius of the aircraft, this just covers one side or the other. It doesn't cover front and back. It just covers the sides of it. So there is blind spots in this. That's why 2 are important for this model. You have one covering 2 ways, the other covering the other 2 ways. One covering north and south, the other covering east and west.
Can I say something? Do you think Russia's AWACS are just S-400s duct taped to the top of an IL-76?
If they have any left.
Maybe an S-300?
They gave AWACS aircraft to the North Koreans, you were telling me.
Yeah.
And they claim they were new, despite the fact that there's obvious rust on the bolts.
It's new, combat.
No. Okay. Wait. QK, you're wrong about the radar. It has 300-degree coverage. It has an instrument range of 450 kilometers and a detection range of 350 kilometers in a dense hostile electronic warfare environment.
Wow.
The dish looks different. That's it.
The thing is that the U.S. is even switching to those bar style because it's an electronically scanned array.
And it also creates a lot less drag.
Yeah,
because the way it was explained to me by an Air Force officer, that was why I was giving it.
Well, no,
so I apologize.
There probably is an older model of it that was only side to side.
Yeah, but this is a fairly modern one that there's a newer model that I think only is missing out on a very narrow band behind it or something. That's what's it called? It's got a cool ass name, and it was the Aussies that.
The Global Eye.
No, it's an AWACS plane.
Yeah, no, that's the SAAB Global Eye.
Is it the Global Eye?
First flight, 2018. Introduction 2020. Introduced by the Australians in 2023.
Yeah. So relatively nice.
Different eye.
But going back to the North Koreans' new AWACS, it's essentially what the Russians are using, the 50. it's just an IL-76 with a dish on it. But they claim it's unused surplus. Yet there's obvious rust on the bolts, and it's gotten a new paint job.
All
So,
I'm saying, it's either it's been
how
used,
unused is it?
it's been used, or it's just been left out in the field untarped. Which one do you think is worse?
Yeah, it's kind of a. So which one do you think?
I think it was left out and tarped.
I think it was.
Okay.
It must have had to have been used because Russia is desperate.
All right, so I was thinking of
Fair
the
enough.
wedge tail.
The
That was
witch tail? Is it the witch tail?
Yeah. It was designed for the Royal Australian Air Force under Project Wedgetail, designated E7 Wedgetail.
Okay. So
And that's the one that the U.S. is receiving. But it also has a fixed active electronically scanned array. Because the thing is, I've talked to not to Air Force guys about it, but Hawkeye pilots, and that spinning one is you gotta think that spinning thing is both a massive. The scanning radar is both a massive factor of drag and also a gyroscope that is spinning. Like, you ever held a wheel in between your hands and spun it?
Yep.
It is literally that, just sitting on top of the plane. Now I don't think the Navy is planning to move to a fixed one. I asked the pilots, they wouldn't answer my questions. They wouldn't answer it. He was like, I don't know if I can answer that legally.
Smart.
But I also haven't seen any plans for the Navy to replace their Hawkeyes yet. Despite their age.
Yeah, it's a case of they're going to try and fly this thing or fix it until either someone makes them replace it, or it just cracks on its own.
I mean, they've been flying. Well, they're still manufacturing new ones, so.
Well, if they're manufacturing new ones, then they might just keep them borderline indefinitely.
It might just be that for the Navy's application that the full 360 is just more ideal.
I'm like wondering, why does the wedge tail look like it's just a 737? And then I look at it, it's just a 737.
It's a 737 AWAC.
Why does it look like a 737? Maybe because it's a 737.
Why does the E3 Century look like a 707?
This is. Anyways, moving on.
Anyway, moving on to more stuff about Ukraine. The European Union's response to Trump's stance on Ukraine has been the following, or at least in terms of the major powers.
Fuck off, kid.
Germany's announced another $3 billion for Ukraine aid, military, and France has announced another $2 million in aid for military. Take from that what you will as well.
So basically, just fuck off, kid.
More or less.
Yeah, no, So with that, Europe has practically, including Poland, which I do not know if Poland's canceled their contracts that they recently did with the United States. I would not be surprised if they're looking at Rheinmetall and licking their lips. But, yeah, Europe has pledged to be U.S. equipment free by 2030.
And by then, Trump will be done.
They're probably going to do is send whatever U.S. equipment they have to Ukraine as they replace it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my question: smart. Who consists of Europe? Because
Germany, France, Britain, not Bulgaria.
Belgium.
Belgium.
Poland
Spain,
may
Portugal.
very well cancel their orders of HIMARS.
Yeah,
I
think they might keep them open just to support you. That's the thing. That's the one country I think would not cut their things, because if they cut the equipment and all that, they would not be able to support Ukraine any longer. Because they would no longer have the ammunition that accidentally falls off the back of a train.
Here's the thing, though, about that. Those countries, other than Belgium, almost all those countries produce all their stuff in-house other than F-35. And unless they're planning to all cancel their F-35 orders...
It's not F-35s. It's like it's Patriots. It's artillery, HIMAR. It's not. Europe very much relies on America for its artillery, unless you're Germany, and then Rheinmetall is the way. Which that's what I'm hoping Europe does, is just finally look at Rheinmetall
here's
and go.
Here's the interesting part. Rheinmetall and BAE Systems are both European defense contractors. BAE Systems being British, and Rheinmetall being German. BAE Systems is a major contributor for the F-35 program, most notably the fuselage and the electronic warfare suite. So, what happens when the U.S. or when the British decide to stop collaborating on the F-35 project?
We already know what happens. The F-47.
Yes, but
the U.S. just used the F-15EX Eagle II.
How are they going to justify using the same equipment from the F-35 if one of the defense contractors that designed some of said equipment is no longer their friend?
It doesn't matter. America got canarded. We got the F-47.
Oh, no.
Also,
honestly, something we did not need.
Because of the I know, because I saw this, F-47 is just a coincidence on the 47 part.
Is it just a coincidence? Because I don't think it's a fucking coincidence.
It is, because there were a bunch of X-planes between F-35 and F-47. And because of the current system, X-planes do take up a number slot.
I do wholeheartedly believe that this is just a bailout for Boeing.
Possibly.
Now I will say, when it comes to the artillery, the only if we're talking just the M777s, it's actually BAE that makes that.
Yeah, that's BAE Systems. And then for the 120 millimeters in the M1 Abrams, that's Rheinmetall. So, again, what happens if if these countries decide, or these defense contractors, seeing the U.S. being relatively hostile to their home country, they decide to stop doing business with the U.S.?
Mm-hmm.
You know what this sounds like? This sounds like
Electric Boogaloo Part 2.
No, Americans wanted Russian-style conservatism. They got it, and now nobody wants to be their friend anymore, and they're starting to lose access to the upper market. So let's see what the American T-14 is going to look like, guys.
Oh no. It's going to hover, and it's going to be a brick. And it's going to have two guns.
Let's see
facing the front. And then it's going to also have some high-tech suite that'll turn it invisible.
But none of it's gonna work, because we will not have access to our global economic partners that make. It might not be a lot of the systems, but the very important ones.
We seem to export a lot of stuff we need to have happen if we ever have an issue. But yeah, that's gosh, the U.S. is just yeah. Yeah, and then also with the fact with the whole text chat thing too.
But the problem is with the whole Russian-style conservatism thing. I'm thinking eventually people are going to have enough, given the current situation with the tariffs, with the protests, with
I'm already seeing people hit breaking points in where I am.
How many Teslas have you seen on fire?
None in my area, but like the like when it like this is also just a good segue too to the new tariff on it. But like uh, people are like even people that voted for Trump are like getting frustrated.
I can't say what I want to say on the internet.
I'm gonna be honest with you. They got what they voted for.
Yeah, exactly.
Trump said what he was going to do. They voted for him, and he did it. And now they want. Now they
Well,
like,
no. He explicitly said he wasn't going to enact Project 2025, and then he enacts Project 2025. So
Exactly.
you can't even say that
yes,
line.
but the problem is
It
Project
it's like the
2025.
meme.
He may have claimed he had nothing to do with it, but that's difficult to do when your campaign manager is an active writer of it.
Here's the
A
problem
partial writer of it.
I see with like the the modern Republicans. They primarily vote out of spite.
They vote.
The problem is
they vote with hatred, not love.
now the problem with voting out of spite is that
You're susceptible.
how long is it before that spite is turned towards you?
Yeah, how long does it take until that spite leads you into a cult of personality?
Like it is a and also just the general callousness of people at the top when it comes to losing jobs. Like it's a matter like yeah, you could if we were in a better system when it comes to things in the US, you could just say that yeah, losing your job is just a thing of life. But because of the way our system is set up and is so fucked up that like if you lose a job, you are at risk. You're at extreme risks.
I have a question. What gubernatorial person said that? If you can please repeat that, and who said that so that people know not to vote
the name. It was Virginia GOP gubernatorial.
Just call him a
candidate.
Just call him just call him a goober.
Call him the fucking governor candidate.
Winsome Earl Sears. Early? And she specifically says, do not fret, don't worry. Everybody has lost a job. It is life happening.
I don't think people are going to take that too well.
Yeah, no, mind you, she is, if I remember what I saw last, because we haven't started the election season here yet, she is already trailing in pre-election polls by like 7 points or more. And she's the primary one. And remember, like, so, and yeah, it's
Is it fun?
Yeah. And then also moving to the tariffs on all cars not made in the United States.
Oh yeah,
does that include parts?
That is some breaking news.
Like here's the thing, like I work in auto parts as my second job. Most batteries for your cars aren't made in America.
Most parts for your car ain't made in America.
Yeah, most parts for your cars.
Mexico, India, or China.
And what I find funny is they think these people who seem to be in favor of tariffs, they are under the weird assumption that the other countries can only get the things they need from the United States. Mm-hmm. They seem to forget that other countries with the same materials exist, and they can just go there.
According to
fuck these people smoking.
According to, I believe it was CNBC that I read it on.
Okay.
just a second.
Okay.
But like this could see like an increase on select types of cars, as much as $12,000 increase in the cost.
Yeah, I imagine people are going to. Oh boy.
And
So
like the thing is, like this isn't going to come back. Like even if car manufacturers decided to, yeah, like, you know what, it's better to bring back the manufacturing to the U.S. It's going to take at least like 5 years to move equipment, get people hired, get people trained, um, and if everyone's moving back, it's going to be even longer.
Yeah, and then if it looks
Because
like they're not going to win, they're going to sabotage it so that the next presidency has that fail on them.
Mm-hmm.
like look at here's the thing, like one of the best things that was happening with the U.S., the CHIPS Act, and getting uh micro high
Microchips.
high density silicon production in the U.S. Um,
Got axed
it's trying, they're axing it when
because
like that would make us pretty much like that would make us almost in terms of like electronics and stuff. If we have that, we could be almost fully self-sufficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Good.
could. We do need domestic chip production because there's always the concern that China decides to retake Taiwan, or at
Like,
least attempt to retake Taiwan, because I genuinely believe China does not have the capability to do so. Because
I
given
mean,
their current population crisis they're going into, they're a bit fucked, if I may say so myself.
they have been showing off some things that make me kind of think it's going to be within the next 5 years.
the thing is, they have to do it
kind
soon.
of have to.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
have
they
to
have
do
to
it
do
because
it
soon.
soon
they,
because
they're having they're gonna have their communist
that's what I
China
was
is
that's
going to
what I
be
was
faced
saying. Is just in the case of
in
the one-child policy, going back to the whole. The reason why China's population is so large is because Mao wanted a large population, so that in the event of a nuclear war, there would be more survivors. That was his shtick. In any case, after he was left power, and they realized that, oh shit, they have all these people and they're running out of places to put them who would defeat them. They start instituting the one-child policy as a sort of population control. This had a snowball effect because Chinese couples tend to prefer boys over girls. One, because boys can do more than girls can in Chinese society due to cultural restrictions, and two, they carry on the family name.
the big issue
So,
is they're facing population collapse in terms
yeah,
of their
I'm
young
explaining
in
the
the next.
pyramids.
We
I'm
don't need
explaining
to
the
get too
pyramids.
in. Let's not get too into the weeds on that because
No,
there's really good.
I'm
There's
saying that this led to a situation where, in the current day, there might be as many as a half dozen, somewhere between a half dozen and a dozen men to one woman
that's
in
less
in an area.
that's less the issue of like the demographics of men to women. It's more the age.
Yeah, and I'm saying because of that, one man, all those men can't date the same woman, so one man gets that one woman, and they have a child, and still because of the one-child policy, they can, and so the population continues to shrink. While at the same time, you've got a population that's getting older, and there's less children to replace them, so,
And
and
downward spiral.
Yeah,
it's a downward spiral. And add to that the fact that for cultural reasons,
and
children are meant to take care of the elderly in Chinese society. So that's a problem.
Chinese women are also leaving the country
Yeah, there's that too.
I
more
wonder
often.
why.
For they are
Yeah,
they're going
Yes.
to date Western men.
They're
Getting their
going to anywhere that's not China, simply put. Anyway, it's led to this.
back onto the tariffs and stuff. Um, like the thing is, what counts as a car not made in the U.S.? Because like, I drive a Honda. My car was made in the U.S., but because it's called a Honda? Does it get a 25% tariff?
No, I'm thinking that doesn't have to do with the brand. I'm thinking of where the part. I'm thinking it has to do with where it's manufactured. This
So
might be a
likely.
case of they could be
Actually,
charging it for parts because let's say
I
some
think
parts
Trump just
are
made
made in
similar in
another
his first
country.
term.
Yeah,
Did-
but
He
going
did
back
just
to
be similar with this in the first term.
Didn't
but
that
going back to
dramatically increase the price of cars?
it did.
so
But also
let's-
something I wanted to add for the whole Chinese thing that we were going on before because I want to speak on it before I forget about it again. There are rumors, although unconfirmed, coming out from China that their population may be as low as 900 million. And they're hiding that fact
Wow.
because their population pyramid is on the brink of collapse.
Are we
Active.
talking about Russian levels of collapse where their population is going to flatline soon?
No, possibly worse. Probably
Possibly worse. So if y'all don't know this, it is now predicted that because Russia has a problem similar to China where there's more in order to maintain a healthy population, you need to have at least 2 births per 1 death. Russia has been for the last about 10 years or so declining, and they're now sitting at about 1.25 to 1. And they're estimating that within about 10 to 15 years, Russia will eventually stabilize, but instead of the 140 something million people they have now, or high 130s, they're going to be down to about 110 million people. And it'll stabilize around that, which is
they don't lose more to this damn war.
If people want to know more about the population collapses and what's going on with that kind of stuff, I highly recommend the videos from Real Life Lore on the subject.
Yes.
They are very well put together, and they explain what the trees.
My favorite examples of the Chinese and Russians trying to fix this are, in the case of the Chinese, at first they instituted a 2-child policy to replace the 1-child policy after they suspended it. And then that didn't work as well either because they still needed a lot more births to replace what they'd lost. So they instituted a 3-child policy now. They're panicking. That is about how I could describe that. And then for the Russians, they started offering cash rewards to children, to mothers who have so many children, or special awards. It's just stupid.
So I just pulled up the real numbers. By 2046, it's estimated that the Russian population will drop to 130 million. By 2100, it'll be down to 112 million. It's actually that's worse. That's the high estimate. The low estimate is 74 million.
Yeah,
by 2100.
Add to that, they're at war. Most of the world is either lukewarm to them, or much of the world is either lukewarm to them or cold to them. And there's the added bonus that a lot of the Far East regions lack infrastructure. And on top of that, they're having infrastructure maintaining problems due to said ongoing war, because they pulled men from those sectors to send them to the war front.
So,
if you want to see the end result of that, just Google Moscow geyser sewer, and you'll see.
So in Russia, there is 1 birth every 22 seconds. There is 1 death every 13 seconds. there is a death rate of 12.5 deaths per 1,000 people, only a birth rate of 8.4. So they are actively losing more people than they are gaining every day. And
that makes sense currently.
their only answer is to gamble on a 3-day operation that's now going into 3 years. That is the ultimate reason why Russia launched this invasion. I did digging, I did investigating about this, and they did this to try and
stabilize their population situation.
Yes,
as well
encapsulate
kind
the
of steal the resources that Ukraine has, but that's not panning out very well for them.
They were hoping to secure the Ukrainian population of, I think it's close to 40-something million.
I think it was 40, somewhere between 40 and 50. Yeah, I'll pull it up.
Ukrainian population 37.73 million. They were practically hoping to take that and through Russification, basically genocide, force their numbers up. That's, if you want to know why Russia had a real keen on taking as many children as possible, you now know why. Because it's a whole lot better to make sure children accept that they're Russian and breed Russian babies if they don't know they're even Ukrainian.
Yep. Yeah.
Or they're old enough to know that they're Ukrainian. It's just they've been traumatized by the Russification process that it's practically a suppressed memory to them.
Yeah, it's not very nice.
No. This went dark really fast.
It's quite literally a war crime. It is quite literally genocide.
So anyway,
yeah,
let's get out of this depressing topic and go into
let's talk about the chat leak.
Let's go into the fact that Pete Hegseth somehow made the War Thunder community look like saints when it comes to classified information.
Oh yes, the last 30 minutes of the night are gonna be fun.
Fucking Pete Hegseth. Where do I start with this?
I'm gonna say this. Firstly, it is a crime in the United States to use an app or software that deletes any form of communication. We do that so that when 20 years later they find out, oh, you weren't the saint you were. You've been dropping people out of helicopters. They can find evidence of you dropping people out of helicopters. Signal is an app that once every, I think it's 12 hours or so, messages are deleted. Which means there is no trace on what they're talking about. For all we know, they could be planning the next Holocaust, and that shit can be deleted within 12 hours. And the fact that Mike Waltz and Pete Hegseth both said there are multiple signal chats in that signal chat means that there's more. How far does this fucking extend in the U.S. government?
Yeah. Gosh, if I remember one point, I remember reading an article either a day or two or another day ago, and it was like I think an Air Force general said, I would lose my clearance. He would have gotten in deep trouble if he did this.
Like, yeah, like the reaction that if Democrats did this.
Oh yeah, if this was done by a Democrat, oh, there'd be fucking congressional hearings.
And to quote, what is it? What's his name? Who went to Ukraine recently? The senator. That Elon Musk referred to as a traitor.
Mark Kelly.
Mark Kelly. At best, Hegseth should be fired. If it were a Democrat to do this, the Republicans would no. It wasn't Pete. It wasn't his. It wasn't this person. It wasn't Mark Kelly. It was what is it? Who's the commentator in the UK? The pro right wing commentator.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm trying to remember. Piers Morgan. That's what I'm trying to remember. He said
I honestly thought this was fake.
If it were a Democrat that had done this, the Republicans would be angry and quite rationally so. They would be within the right to be angry. But the fact that there's a Republican doing this, the Republicans don't seem to give a shit.
All I can say is we have an example of this called Hillary Clinton, where it found out Hillary Clinton was both because she forgot to fucking swap email accounts.
She was using her own email for classified shit. And then there's the added stuff that, in the case of, what is it? I'm trying to remember something else, so just keep talking. It'll come back to me.
So if I don't want to hear a damn thing from the right about Hillary Clinton ever fucking again.
Now remember the thing. It was who was the defense secretary under Lloyd Austin. He was hospitalized out of commission for multiple days and did not tell a soul. And the Republicans went in air bomb over it.
And here we are, the new Secretary of Defense, talking about CIA agents and their fucking names and code names and where they are exactly. And as a reporter that thank God he's a real journalist and not someone sympathetic to their cause. But I can tell you, every CIA agent in the country of Yemen is packing up their shit and leaving.
Yeah, Pete Hegseth is going to... And then what makes it worse is it seems as if the cabinet is going to cover Hegseth's ass.
Oh,
they're going to cover his ass.
They're already claiming it.
The going theory they're going to go with, they're going to fire... What is his name?
Mike Waltz has already taken the blame for it.
Mike Waltz. Yeah, they're going to sack him. They're going to blame him for everything.
So some new stuff regarding this. Mobile phone numbers, email addresses, and even passwords belonging to top Trump officials, including Mike Waltz, Pete Hegseth, and Tulsi Gabbard, have been found online, revealing more serious security breaches.
Someone's going to have to do something eventually, and Trump seems to be willing to let them do whatever they want to, as long as they kiss his ass.
We gotta face it here at this point, right? The series of checks and balances that secured the United States from falling into this type of shit is over, right? There's three pillars to this checks and balances. One's actively cupping the president's balls, and the other one's just being ignored. So nothing is going to come from this if we don't fucking do it ourselves. And this is the point where I need to calm down and mute myself before I say some more shit.
I mean, the Second Amendment does say, in the event that the government will not, it becomes tyrannical and no longer represents the will of the people, we are well within our right to take matters into our own hands, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
there is a direct quote from the Declaration of Independence regarding that.
But
Yes.
as I can't remember that comedian's name, he did a bit on it where it's like, all right, let's have 500 redneck. It's fucking what's his name?
Bill Burr.
No, other guy, the guy similar to Bill Burr.
I don't remember.
Is he dead?
No, he's very much alive, and he's very much a controversial figure. He did the
That doesn't narrow him down.
You know why we treat our customers this way? Because fuck them. That's why. What's his name?
I don't know.
Black
Names
guy.
are not my strong suit tonight. I'm sorry.
Black guy. What's his name?
Oh, does he have
Dave
Dave
It's
Chappelle.
fucking Dave.
Yeah,
Dave
Yes.
Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle. There you go. He did a fucking skit where it was like, all right, we got 500 rednecks with guns wanting to overthrow their government, and we got little Private Jimmy in a shed in Nevada. Let's see how they go. Boom. All right, the fucking Private Jimmy's like, all right, are we going? Presses button. All 500 of the rednecks
I have a
are
drone.
dead. Yeah, no.
I have a drone.
I don't think the Second Amendment's enforceable anymore. Unless a major part of the military sides with it, it's going to be put down.
Here's the problem, though, that like if the government goes full tyrannical, you're going to see the part of the thing is you're going to see a very long insurgency. It's going to be Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria, all those places on steroids, because you got to remember, a lot of veterans are not fucking happy, and a lot of these guys,
they did the funny by just
we
deporting veterans.
Just
deporting veterans.
Remember, like, the thing is, these are guys that spent potentially at their oldest 20 years in Afghanistan or Iraq. They know how to build IEDs. They're good shots. They know how the military works.
The main issue that I'm gonna bring up here is the insurgencies were only that effective because they had a sympathetic populace. If they try to hold out in the mountains of Appalachia, good luck not having a population not rat them out the moment, because I don't know if you've been into Appalachia, they have a Trump superstore on every other street.
The other places.
The thing is, even with like the thing is, like with most cults, there isn't really a good person to follow Trump.
I mean,
right?
I live in the deep south. I know places where you can hide. I know areas that would be sympathetic to something like that.
Like, the thing is, we're talking potentially, in terms of population that are rebellion, like in this kind of rebellious state, multiple times the size of the population of Afghanistan. In terms of just raw population. And the thing is, a lot of the fence sitters, they will get uncomfortable with it eventually. You can only tune it out for so long before you either have to get out or take a stand.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, if the government's gone tyrannical, you're really going to be left with the only option being take a stand.
Yeah.
Once things get bad enough, because
my whole thing is there is going to be enough of the population, no matter where you're hiding. Like in Afghanistan and Iraq, you entered a village, you're praying that there's somebody sympathetic to your cause. In every little town, state, and wherever you want to hide, there is going to be at least one person willing to rat your ass out. And if a resistance forms and starts doing summary executions of the people who ratted them out, that's how you lose support. So the only play, and knowing the U.S. military as a mechanized force, you can't really launch a guerrilla campaign in the Midwest because flat ground, where the fuck are you gonna hide and be guerrillas? You can't.
You could do that. Could pull it in California though.
I'm getting to that point. You can't really do it in the deep South because people down here are so blinded by Christianity that they'll practically follow the Republican message till they die, even if it doesn't help them. You can't do. You might find luck in the fucking mountains of the Rockies, but that is an inhibited. That is not like Afghanistan where you can have small farms off the side of a mountain. Because guess what? Those mountains aren't made of dirt and clay. They're made of stone. You can't grow shit there. The only place you could realistically do it is either in Appalachia, which again, good luck finding a town that wouldn't immediately rat you out, or California.
I think you're being way overestimating the capabilities of the U.S. to sustain something like that inside the U.S. Because one,
I think you're underestimating the U.S. Army.
Okay, do you remember the entire military is less than 8% of the entire population of the United States? It doesn't even crack 1%.
Well, what about the reserves?
The reserve
that is
furthermore,
is total.
You are forgetting something really important, Mr. Fratt.
What?
Do you know how many people are sympathetic to the cause in major metropolitan cities?
Yeah, major metropolitan cities that can't sustain themselves, and if they got blockaded, could get fucked really quickly. And knowing that this government will do it.
Here's what we do. Well, then here's what we do. Have you, my son, heard of the original IRA? You know how they fought. You know how they, committed combat actions. You know how they did that.
Yeah, they had villages sympathetic to their cause, like whole villages.
Yes, so we need to do in that case. Then we need to have a moment of the boys of the old brigade. If you know who those guys are, and well, I bet you don't, but that's fine. Long story short, Easter Day, go into a major business and just start fighting. It's kind of how they did it back then.
Yep.
So here's another reminder too that if we're talking like an insurgency, you would need, according to the best information we have, which is for doing counterinsurgency, you need about 20 to 25 counterinsurgents per 1,000 residents. If the U.S. goes tyrannical and deploys military into the streets to go against civilians, you're going to have a lot of military personnel that refuse those orders.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because
in some cases, maybe their families.
Yeah, because they'll be targeting their families. Because the thing is, unlike what we did with why Tiananmen Square was easily able to happen, America no longer has single city military units or single state type stuff other than National Guards. And because of the fact that because if you know your World War II history, have you heard of the Bedford Boys? No?
I know my World War II history, but I don't know what the fuck are the Bedford Boys.
The Bedford Boys were a group of soldiers that were recruited from Bedford County, Virginia, and took part in D-Day. In terms of population, in terms of percentage of the population of the location they came from, they they had the highest losses of D-Day. They lost 26 of their sons, and the entire county at the time was like 200 people. So after World War II, they stopped doing like where all your soldiers would be from X state, because you could have, or X city and stuff. They started mixing them. So now you'll have like I have people come through here that are from all over the fucking country, because you're no longer stationed or with just people. So you're going to have fracturing of groups in the military. And then like you're going to be doing a counterinsurgency among people that blend in pretty much perfectly. Because like, think about it. This was talked about with doing a counterinsurgency against Canada. They talk like us. They talk like us. They look like us. They know us.
I remember a quote from Thrawn, a Star Wars character. To defeat your enemy, you must know them. Not only their tactics and military, but their art and history. Yeah.
All I'm gonna say is I'm getting a gun, and
I mean, that's a good idea.
if I need to, Fed boys shooting at me from down a hallway, I can shoot back.
That is an excellent statement.
That is genuine.
Defend
Good idea.
family.
A 7.62 by 54R round to the chest is still a 7.62 by 54R round to the chest.
No matter what's coming out of.
I'm looking at getting an SKS. Wait,
that's 7.62 by 39.
Is that 7.62 by 39?
Yeah.
Yes, it uses an AKM. I have an SKS sitting right here next to me.
Rock on. Okay.
Still, that's the same adage of a 7.62 is still a 7.62 to the chest.
Anyway, so, and then, what was I about to say? Here's the thing. We have to continue using our boxes of liberty in the correct order. Do you guys know the boxes of liberty?
No.
No.
There are 4 boxes of liberty.
What's this John Seed bullshit we about to hear?
No. So this is
no,
the 19th century. There are 4 boxes to be used in the defense of liberty: soap, ballot, jury, and cartridge. Please use in that order.
Soap, ballot, jury, cartridge.
So you got to get on your soapbox to get your ideas and tell people what's going on. You gotta vote to keep people in that want to defend liberty. You have to take part in juries and stuff to make sure that it happens. And if all else fails, you gotta get the ammo box.
I thought Jerry when you said
jury.
I thought you said Jerry, and the only thing going through my head, through my head was Jerry, as in jerrykins, as in start lighting shit on fire. We're already at that point.
Yeah, no, but like the thing is, it is basically that to defend liberty, there are steps you can take before it comes to violence.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what
that sounds like an excellent spot to leave off tonight.
But what if your secretary was it the second? Who suggested today to dissolve the Department of Justice?
I don't know, but point being, talk to your senators, call them whatever, talk to the people in charge, and tell them that you want change. America's built off of its people.
Vote.
Also, someone please slap fucking Schumer by the side of the head, because he's effectively in the goddamn weeds. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He doesn't know what the hell he's. It's a fucking mess.
So,
I mean, he supported the bill the bill to continue funding the government. I suppose, fair enough, you don't want to be responsible for a government shutdown. But on the ethics vote, his support base actively did not want that vote to go through because there were some things that they didn't want passed.
Okay, really important question after you're done.
My question is this: Did you really have to vote and turn against your own voter base? So much so that they're now boycotting your events, and trashing you all over the internet. The backlash is real.
Yeah,
It really is.
There is some backlash.
And the funny thing is, Schumer is in the position he is because every time they can't seem to get anyone to replace him because he seems to. Anyone who attempts to gets primaried out because well, he's the only one who ever wins.
So,
but I got a feeling that this time around, come the next time around, he's going to be primaried to fuck.
So what I think he's trying to play is he's going through the 2016 playbook, where if you remember the Trump presidency in 2016, it was relatively tame. Trump surrounded himself with people that had a backbone and could say no to him.
Yep. This time he doesn't.
The difference is this time he has a sympathetic Senate and House, and can now, since he has support of both the Senate and House, can just tell the judiciary to fuck off. I'm not listening to you. Because the funny thing about the U.S. Constitution, there is nothing written in there about the actual power the judiciary has in the fucking checks and balance system. There's power given to the legislative because they can impeach, but they didn't think the judiciary should have power because the judiciary had a lot of power in England and they were easily corruptible. So let's not give them power of that. And B, they thought that Congress would stand up, and if something would happen, they'd stand up and do the process so that, that third pillar isn't really needed. But we're going to have it so that all three branches feel like they're equals in this and not the judiciary branch being just tagged along on a leash.
Yeah. Tanks and guns can attack.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
If we're about to end it, I want to end off on something that I think people need to remember about. Because I don't think most people have ever actually heard probably the most important part of the Declaration of Independence.
Is it the preamble?
It's part of it. Remember, most people only know the first sentence of it.
What is it?
Preach, my boy, preach.
I'm just going to read it. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, derive their just power from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience have shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, invices the design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty, to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security.
Hoorah!
That
Hoorah,
is
indeed.
that part, the latter half of the preamble is probably the most important part of the Declaration of Independence, and most Americans have never heard it.
Nope.
The only reason
Whoever's watching this stream.
the only reason some people might have even heard that last sentence in it is because you watched National Treasure.
Yep. Well,
Sad but true.
Yeah.
But
whoever watched this stream tonight will have heard it.
yeah, hopefully, and I honestly would love to see someone in Congress read out the preamble
I would love to see that too. But
and
yeah.
see
So,
how many people react negatively to our founding document.
I mean,
Gosh.
right now Congress is just worried about C-SPAN.
Yeah.
They did a I can't remember what Congress member. He stood up and went, "I'd like to point out that C-SPAN has been covering this for 40-something years, and it's from coverage to coverage, all this thing." And I'm just like, so you're congratulating C-SPAN,
yeah.
but
man,
you're
so,
not protecting our democracy.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I'm just going to leave this alone. I'm gonna go talk to friends of mine.
Yeah, we should probably
You guys
call
have
it
a
a night.
wonderful night.
yeah, we
Yeah,
can
we're
call it a night. It's an
we're
hour
at the-
30.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're at the hour 30 mark.
If,
Plus the
if you
minute or
do,
so
and
for the
whenever
other.
you do, want to
Yeah, so
hit me back
I've
up,
been
and I
literate
will be
redneck.
more than willing to give more insight into
Yep.
the farmer.
Yeah, you're the farmer. You're the one
Listen,
we
or
asked for
fascinating
that.
history, or anything, any goofy little
Thanks for
thing. I don't
stopping
know.
by.
Fair
Thanks
winds
for
to
stopping
all.
by. I've been
May your
literate
dreams
redneck.
bring you to
We've
warm
got
sands.
a random hodgepodge of whoever the fuck in here tonight. And, well, hope you enjoyed. Y'all have a good night.
goodbye.
Fair winds.
Do you think my segment was a little solid there?